Hello and welcome to the Natania G podcast. My name is Natania G. This is a space where we invite you to join us in our pursuit for lifelong health and vitality. We're not only going to go over the information, but the application and the amazing people that have taken this information and made it come to life and work for them. We're in the belief that everybody is unique, and when you match what you do with who you are, that's where the lifelong change happens. My first guest I'm honored to have is one of my good friends, Maria Rogers. Maria Rogers is a level 1, level 2 USA track and field coach. She is also an avid runner, marathoner. She has her degree in biology from Davis, and she also has a degree from University of California, Davis in environmental sciences. Maria has been a huge inspiration in my life and many others in regards to health, movement, and also vitality. I'm excited to interview her and share her inspiration with you today. So, Maria, we're finally here.
Finally.
I know, we've made it.
I thought it was actually going to be 20 days later until you called me this morning.
Yeah.
And I just finished a run, so.
Well, I've always known you to be that way, running a little bit behind, and that's one of the things I love about you.
Spontaneous.
Yes. So I really wanted to share with everybody, because you've been a really big inspiration in my life in regards to health, wellness, just general well-being. And I moved out here to New York City, and you were one of the first friends that I had. And I met you, what was it, like 10 years ago, 15 years?
No, it's been like almost 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was when I was trying to join the track team.
Oh, I met you before that.
Oh, you met me? That's right. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
I hired you.
You
That's where
hired me.
originally I met
Remember
you.
I had the spot on my shirt?
Correct. And that's why I hired you. I was like, cool. No. So one of the things I noticed about you when I first met you is you're in really good shape. Like, you always had like great abs, arms. You were always active, always sharing like, what worked for you and tips for other people. Were you always in good shape, like your whole life? Has this been like you were born and boom, you came out with a six-pack?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
I will admit that I'm probably more on the ectomorph side.
okay.
I'm on the way thinner side right now.
Okay.
Muscle-wise. But I was always active. I
Okay.
never had a weight problem. I rode horses from, 11 years on.
Right.
And so I was very, very, but I was the last person to get picked for the baseball team and all that stuff. But it wasn't until I got interested in dance, I started dancing, and then it transitioned to group fitness. They called it aerobics at the time.
Right.
The leg warmers and everything.
Correct.
And I started lifting weights, and I was always very insecure about my arms because they were really thin, and, so the lifting weights came into play,
Mhm.
and that, toned me up. But my body really began to change when I started running. And when you're running, you're using your whole body.
Right.
And people don't even realize that you're pumping your arms. So your arms are working. Every part of your body's working. Your abs, your core, everything.
Yeah.
It's all working together. Especially if you're doing interval work. So speed work on the track. And when I started tapping into that, my body just changed. And people would say to me, well, what do you do? And I just say I run.
Right.
But I don't just go out there and jog, I mean, I run. I mean, I have my easy recovery days. I mean, the workouts they're specific, they're planned. It's not like you run the same thing every day. I mean, we all know if we do the same thing every day, nothing changes, right? So you have to mix it up. But, you as a trainer know that, we do microcycles and mesocycles. But yeah, a lot of interval training. Sometimes I would get sore in my back of my deltoids and my lats from sprinting.
Right.
So
Yeah, you were one of the things I noticed about you when we were running is you were really fast, but you were also can go for long periods of time.
Mhm.
Now, from what I remember, you're a USA track and field coach, a level 1 and a level 2.
That's correct.
You've run a marathon, plus you've
3, and I hated
And
everyone.
the Boston, right.
I'm not a
I do
marathoner.
want to talk about that because I
Okay.
have a unique liking or interest in marathon runners because, as you know, one lap around the track and I'm like, oh, I'm good, tap out. But we'll talk about that. But if you were to go back, like, because I deal with a lot of people that, I shouldn't run. It's bad for my body. It's bad for my knees. I'm going to
Mhm.
stick to cycling. What would you tell somebody that said, I'm not going to run. It's bad for my body. I'd want to, but I heard it's not good for me.
Well, I would tell them that there's a lot of myths around running.
Right.
Running is an impact activity. And, if you have never run in your life, obviously it's going to affect your body.
Yeah.
So I would, advise them on the shoes and, walk running just to get started, get their bodies used. It takes like 6 months just for
Mm,
your ligaments, your tendons, your bones. Your bones are actually, they grow.
right.
If you took biopsies of runners, their muscles and their bones, they're denser or
Mm,
heavier,
right.
which is not good because the heavier you are,
Yeah.
the slower you are. But
So let's just say, I mean, I've never worked out. I'm in the point where I want to feel better. And I
hmm
know losing weight is my first thing to starting to make my body feel better. A lot
hmm
of times people go into movement because it's something they can actually do right now to
hmm
help them feel better.
sure.
Um, but they've never worked out and they're like, you know what, I'm going to start by running. What tips would you have for them? Never ran before, didn't really exercise before, but they're like at that point where they've seen their doctor and you know what, I think I'm going to start running. It's
hmm
something that looks fun and I
hmm
see people lose weight. What would be some tips you would share with people just getting started or how would you start them as a trainer?
I would start them planning for a 5K, just completing a 5K.
Not a marathon.
No, absolutely not. And
A
this
lot of people
is,
do that, right?
yes, they do. And I
Okay.
think it's a mistake. That's just my opinion.
Right.
But,
Why is it a mistake? Why do you
well,
think? Because I do see a lot of people, oh, I'm doing a marathon. I've never run or
because I've seen them at the
yeah.
halfway point. Because no, literally, my
Right.
house is at the 13.1 mile halfway point of the LA Marathon.
Okay.
And I see them
Okay.
and they're breaking down.
Okay.
And there's a reason.
What do you think?
They're not in shape. They're not fit.
Okay.
They've maybe done these long runs, but you're talking there's a difference. It's really about the time that you're running. So
Okay.
if you're a fast, light, really in shape runner, and your VO2 max, your body's able to take up a lot of oxygen and deliver it to your muscles really quickly. You're going to be running for maybe 2.5 hours. Professional women, the men, God, they're running like 2:11s and
Right.
they're breaking 2 hours now, I think, or close to. So they're running for that long.
Mhm.
Now, these people that I see that get trained for these in these groups, I see these large groups. They tend to be slightly overweight, and nothing against that. Health is the important thing.
Right.
But so they're carrying that extra poundage, and also they're running for 5 to 6 hours. That's a long time.
That's true.
Yeah,
But they made it.
not all
Not
of
all
them.
of them. Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
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 So,
Okay. So you would suggest for them to start like a 5K and
absolutely.
okay. And how should they start? So talk to me. I'm a beginner. I'm listening to this podcast and I'm like, you know what? It's something I've been wanting to do. What should I do? Walk me through like the first couple of steps that you would tell me to do as a trainer or as a
Okay.
friend. Yeah. Because and I'll go over it, you were really key in helping me continue with my running.
Right.
Um, even the first couple of steps,
Right.
Adrian as well. So
Right.
how would you coach
Okay. First
Natania?
of all, put your shoes and your socks right by your bed,
Right.
and your running gear in the morning,
Yeah.
or whenever you plan to go.
Yeah.
And run by for time. Don't go, oh, I'm going this fast or I'm going this long. I would suggest starting with 30 minutes run walking. Once you get winded, out of breath, stop and walk. You want to be able to run at a conversational pace where
Okay.
you can be talking, talking like this, but you're still able to talk.
So 2, 3 days, 1 day a week, 2 days a
I
week.
would recommend at least 3 days a week, if not more.
And
I
so
mean,
I'm gonna
maybe
run.
start with 3.
Okay.
It just depends on the person.
Okay.
Um,
So start with
but I
2 to
think
3.
I
Easy. Is there any way like you
I
said
think that they should start with 3
okay,
minimum.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not
Okay.
going to make any progress unless you're running at least 3 times a week.
Okay.
So once you can run for 30 minutes without stopping 5 days a week, then you're ready to move on.
To a marathon?
No.
Okay. So you would have now um you talked a little bit about interval training.
Mhm.
What is interval training? Because I know there's HIIT training, there's interval
Right.
training, there's endurance training. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of different types of training out there. What exactly is interval training? And if I was new, like how would I do that pretty simply on my own? And should I do it in one of these 3 runs? Like,
Not a beginner. No.
okay,
I would introduce that very slowly, and it would be basically you're going to run just a little bit faster for 30 seconds, and then you're going to walk for 30 seconds, off and on, maybe in the middle of your run after you warmed up. Um, Essentially, interval training is getting your heart rate up to your, not your threshold, because your threshold is when I'm tapped out. I can't go, I just can't breathe anymore. I
hmm
got to stop. Um, you want to be sub threshold. So you're working hard,
hmm
but you're not dying. You can
okay.
keep going.
I always feel like I'm dying when I'm running.
Yeah.
Just okay.
So the ideal is, I think I read somewhere 12 minutes. Of course, we did more than that as competitive runners,
Mhm.
but in order to get your heart rate to that level of you have to go for at least 3 minutes.
Okay, so 3 minutes an
At least
interval.
3 minutes.
Okay.
There's other ways you could do it. So let's say you do 3 minutes, you do your interval for 3 minutes, and then you jog easy for a minute and a half,
Mhm.
and then you do another interval for 3 minutes, et cetera, depending on the workout.
Right.
Um, but you can also do it by doing shorter recoveries. Let's say run 1 minute,
Mhm.
recover 30 seconds, run 1 minute, recover 30 seconds, because
Mm.
your body doesn't have time for it to come down, your heart rate to come down and recover. So that you're keeping it at that sub threshold level. And with the smaller ones, you're going kind of in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. With the longer ones, you're going in, out. But you're still at that sub threshold level. And really that is strengthening it's kind of like lifting weights for your heart,
Right.
essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that where VO2 max comes in? And what's your opinion on should somebody go get their VO2 max test? Because I've been hearing a lot of stuff out there like VO2 max is, predictor for how long you're going to live, and
No,
which I get. And we used to do right VO2 max testing.
we did.
Yeah, like it was
Uh-huh.
for certain clients to be able to give them what is it, the heart rate zones and stuff
Yeah.
like that. What's your opinion on VO2? And as a beginner, I really don't need it, or is it something that would
Um,
help me?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Let's say that you've been running for consistently,
hmm
for let's say 12 weeks, and you feel pretty good,
Yeah.
You're up to your long run, which I usually have somebody do, really easy runs. I would say 80% of your running should be easy.
Okay.
Um,
I'm good with that.
yeah, exactly. And that's in between, the easy running in between your a little bit faster
hmm
running. Um, so I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I know. I'm just throwing questions out at you. VO2 max.
Oh, VO2
Yeah.
max. So basically,
Do you think I should do it as a beginner?
I don't think you should.
No, I don't need
You
it.
don't need it.
Okay.
No,
Because a lot of my friends, I know they're going to those high priced gyms and they're doing it for
no,
them.
you don't
and-
need to do it. No.
Okay. So not
But
recommended.
I can tell you
Okay.
how to do it without doing that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So as a beginner,
As a beginner, you can do
Just
it on
get
a
out.
treadmill.
Yeah.
Right. And you can set it at a certain
Mhm.
pace, and then you hit the incline. every 30 seconds
Right.
or minute,
Right.
and your heart rate's being managed, right?
Yeah.
You can go by heart rate. You don't need to measure the amount of oxygen.
Like on the treadmill, or should I buy a heart rate monitor, or should I do?
Well, you should have a heart rate monitor.
Okay.
Because if you're holding on the treadmill, it's going to change because you're pulling yourself a little bit while you're doing that. Because you
I
have
know,
to
it
hold
was just
it
to
for
see
a
that
number
people
of
walking
seconds.
full speed and
Yeah,
holding
exactly.
on. Okay.
Yeah, you're not really working. Yeah, heart rate monitor for sure. But just to, you could even use a stopwatch if you're outside.
Mm-hmm.
And just run as fast as you can for as long as you can until you just can't breathe anymore, right? And then you stop and you count your heart rate, your 2 fingers that this is the old-fashioned way, for a minute, and see how many beats per minute. But it's going to come down. It's going to start to come down immediately, especially if you're in better shape. It's going to come down really fast.
Okay.
So I highly recommend you can get the cheapest form of these watches.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need I don't want to just say something bad about a certain brand, but you don't need an Apple Watch. You don't
Those
need
are
something.
pretty cool, but I know.
They are cool.
Yeah.
They're very cool, but you don't need something like that. And
just to get started.
Yeah, you really just need something to tell you how far you've gone. You can, and it's kind of fun because you can look at the app afterwards and you can,
track it.
Yeah, and you can say, oh, look what I did this. And the other part of it is if you're feeling tired, you can go back and look at your weekly mileage and go, oh, I kind of overdid it last week.
How do you know when you've overdone it? Because that's a big key also. I know that, we're more aware of it today's day and age about recovery and regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
Nina Moore, she used to say, you get your greatest gains in your recovery.
That's right.
So how do you figure out a good balance for yourself? Because I know for myself, I was like, pain and no pain, no gain, push through it. I remember I would run like every day because I thought I would lose the endurance. Like, I'm a beginner, I'm starting. Yeah, I'm doing 2-3 days a week. But then when I want to add, how do you create that balance? Like, how do you know when you're running? Of course, you're going to be tired, but is there like a formula I should go by?
They have formulas
But what would you suggest? Just somebody, doesn't need to be
oh gosh. Well,
'cause you were really
if you're
helpful.
using a heart rate monitor, I like to tell people to go by effort based. So, but you can use a heart rate monitor as well. So let's say you figured out, okay, this is as high as my heart rate can go. And usually if you're younger and for some reason the older you get, the lower your heart rate max becomes regardless of your fitness level. But for a younger person, it could be 180. So it's usually a percentage of that, like 80% of that or 70% of that. You'll see the heart rate zones. And everybody's genetically different.
Right.
So I recommend that you don't train that hard. As I was saying, it should just be a certain percentage of your runs. The rush should be just easy conversational running. And I call those active recovery runs. And that's when your bones and everything's getting used to the impact. And, it could be a walk. It could be a hike. It could be going for a bike ride.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a run.
Okay.
So you asked about HIIT training?
Yeah, there's been there's interval training and then there's HIIT training and then there's, are they the same things or like?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so, in my opinion, because HIIT training is, my understanding of it, is you're jumping up on boxes and you're doing push-ups and you're doing weights. But the problem is you're not steadily keeping your heart rate up for that period of time in order to get to your threshold.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, you're working out, you're burning calories, sure. But cardiovascularly, you're not, you're going to see some gains, but it's not going to be like as you would running or swimming. I mean, swimming is like the ultimate cardiovascular workout. I sink. I'm like, oh.
All right. So, one of the other things I've, noticed through being a good friend of yours, and something that I've always admired about you is you always like running seemed part of like you just went running, like whenever in good times and bad times, things going on with like dating, things going on in life, like it seemed like you went for a run
Mhm.
and everything, cleared up and was good. Kind of was like you used to tell me like your therapy or something like that. And
Mhm.
I consider
Mhm.
it that also. Um,
Yeah.
Talk to me about the ways that you feel running has really has helped you in that way. Like, how it's been, because it kind of feels like it's been your friend along the way, like
It
running.
has been my
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah.
It is saved me throughout my life. Well, I
Mm.
will tell you that. Um, my family, we have a history of depression,
Hmm.
and I would suffer from depression, anxiety, and I'd go for a run. I'd be like, "Oh, I feel amazing." So
Yeah.
it was my antidepressant
Yeah.
medication.
And
So
they actually are saying that it is.
it
Yeah.
is, yeah. And so obviously, some people need medication in addition to that. But for me, God, and there was days when you just feel horrible. I'd feel horrible, and I'd say, just get out there and put one foot in front of the other and just go. And maybe it would be 20 minutes. Maybe it would turn into a hike, but just keep walking, keep going. I mean, when my mother passed, it was like that. I went for hikes for like 2 hours because I didn't have the energy to run. I
Right.
wasn't eating very much. Um, so yeah, it's my therapy.
Yeah.
And especially when things are hard in my life. There were days, I'd get off work and I was just like, oh, and I'd walk onto the track and everything would just fall away. I'd feel the breeze and I'd see the green in the center and the track and people. And it was quiet. There wasn't this banging music, that you get in a gym.
Yeah.
So it was very calming for me, very People would say, "Do you meditate?" I said, "Yeah, when I'm running. I don't listen to music.
Right.
I'm out in nature." And it's that rhythmic, your
Hmm.
heart, that rhythmic beating of your heart, just doom,
Mm.
doom. So,
That is true.
and then it also is helpful, if you're ill. Um, for example, cancer patients,
Hmm.
they get very tired when they're in treatment. The medications will make them very tired. And they've done studies that if they exercise even a little bit, especially aerobic exercise and even interval training, believe it or not, um, helps them be less tired.
Right.
So it's kind of, you would think the opposite, but no. So I unfortunately was diagnosed with a rare cancer in 2014,
Right.
and I'm still dealing with it.
Yeah.
But we're managing it. And
I mean, you're more than managing it. You're like, how
yes.
long have you, right? How many, do you want to talk
Right.
a little bit about, or like, because I know
Yeah,
you were
sure.
in remission and then yeah.
Yeah, what they thought I was in remission
Right.
for a couple of years.
And it was what type of cancer? Did you want to?
It's very rare.
Okay.
It starts in the appendix and it spreads throughout your peritoneum. And if you're not familiar with what peritoneum is, if you've ever skinned a chicken and you see the white fascia
Hmm.
in there, it grows there. So it's literally on top of organs and as opposed to inside of, which is good thing.
Yeah.
Um, and the clinical name is pseudomyoxide peritoneae. So if you could say
Can look that up.
that. I just say I have, abdominal cancer.
Right.
It's because it's very
Yeah.
difficult. Even my friends are like, "What cancer do you have again?"
And like, I've known you like even after treatments, like you just get out there and you just run. Like,
Mhm.
and this is the thing that that's inspired me even when we've run together, is you have this kind of mentality that I mean, I'm not going to speak to your mentality, but the way you look at it is like, I feel like it's like it's more than there. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's keeping you moving forward, because how
Mhm.
long have you been thriving with this cancer right now?
Yeah,
How long?
yeah,
It's like
10 years.
10 years.
10 years. Yeah.
And I remember that they said it was the expectancy.
22 months?
Right.
When it came back, they said
Yeah.
22
I mean,
months.
I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, and the reason why I wanted to share it is I feel like this movement has been such a not just therapy, but also like been keeping you going, like the
Mhm.
moving and going has been, really helpful.
I don't feel like I have cancer when I'm running,
Right.
and most of the time, I try not to think about it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't wanna be a cancer person with cancer. I don't
Right.
want that to define it doesn't define me.
No.
And when I'm out there running and I'm feeling good, even if I'm running a pace that I'm not, it's maybe half of as fast as what I used to run.
Which is still faster than me.
It's okay because the effort is
Right.
still there, right? When I
Right.
talked about effort based, that's
Yeah.
how I train people. I want you to go for effort,
Right.
not speed
Yeah.
or pace. Um, I feel alive.
Yeah.
I feel healthy. I feel strong,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
important
It is.
to fight to keep fighting.
Yeah.
So,
If you were to go back to the Maria prior to the fitness industry, maybe just embarking on it. And I don't know what stage is. I know you have a long history.
mhm.
Um, I mean, you have a degree in biology from Davis, and then you went into environmental science. I mean, you have a long history of being in the fitness and wellness industry. If you were to go back to that Maria, it's just getting started. Like, would there be any advice you would give her, or things that you would tell her? That maybe you've learned along the way.
You mean somebody that's interested in the field and going into the field of training people?
Yeah, or starting to run or training or just, you know, I know fitness has been a part of your life, you said for a while.
Yeah.
But let's just say before like you got into the fitness wellness industry, really starting to run, is there one piece that you would tell it like to yourself or to somebody else say, "Hey, Maria, make sure you do what you want to do, but make sure you do."
I would say don't pick something that you absolutely hate. I mean, if you absolutely hate running, I'm not going to tell you should run.
Mm,
You know, if you've never tried it, I might say, well, let's just give a little bit of a try.
mhm.
But find something that you love, that you enjoy. I mean, let's let's face facts.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to the gym and work out. Nobody wants to work out. It's
What are you
hard.
talking about?
That's why it's called working out. In fact, I tell some of my clients, I said, actually, if you fired your trainer and you mowed your own lawn and
That is
did all
true.
your gardening, you probably would lose
Right.
weight. But joking aside, um, because you do need trainers are fantastic for making sure that you have proper form in whatever you're doing. I would tell them, you know, be aware. Let's say if somebody wants to go into the fitness profession, I would say be aware of your client. Listen to your
Mhm.
clients. That is the most important thing you can do
Mhm.
because they know their body better than anybody. So let's say you're 23 years old and you're really excited and you're getting into the fitness industry and maybe you're into bodybuilding or maybe you're
Mhm.
into, whatever. Um, because you're going to have clients that are 40, 50, listen to them. What do they do? What kind of jobs do they have? How much time do they have? What injuries have they had? Listening to people is so important. Hearing their stories. And that can help you do your job better.
Mm.
So that would be my advice.
Okay. Another thing that I am very grateful to have you in my life for is you always have, when I used to run, well, I still run, but when I used to run with you long periods of time,
Uh-huh.
we would get to the end. It was like we would go for like an hour or something like
Mhm.
that. And I remember it was always like the end of the run, my body was like, stop, just stop. Like, this is what, just stop, Natania. Don't do it anymore. You need to stop. There's the red light. Stop. And you would always say, like, it's okay. We just got 10 more minutes. Just take it easy. Just 10 more minutes.
Yeah,
And
just slow down.
you had such a, yeah, you had such a, like, it was just such a great I guess I would say, like, approach to it, or, like,
Mhm.
did that come natural? Like, when you started running, like,
Mhm.
because I remember being like, "Wow, how can she keep going? Like, my body's telling me to stop." Well, she's like, "Oh, just keep going. It's only 10 more minutes. Like, just keep going." Like, where did that mentality come from? Because I know a lot of you say, "Oh, if it hurts, stop." But sometimes you
Well, if
say,
you can't breathe anymore,
okay, but yeah,
stop.
but like,
And obviously, if something hurts, you stop.
yeah,
Um, I honestly don't know.
huh, okay.
Um, Maybe I got to the point where I would usually, in the past we didn't have these watches, we didn't have the
Hmm.
technology, all the good gadgets and stuff, and you would know, okay, it's this many miles around the park.
Hmm.
We lived in Sacramento, and there's this beautiful park called Southland Park, and it was about 3 miles if I went around
Hmm.
one loop. If I went around an additional area, I could turn it into four, or let's say if I went around twice. Anyway, bottom line is, I would go by feel. I
Yeah.
mean, some days I would go 3 miles. Some days I'd walk out the door and go, "You know what? It's not happening today."
Hmm.
And I'd
Right.
go home and just rest.
Yeah.
I need to rest.
Yeah.
Um, so I would listen to my body.
Yeah.
And on the longer ones, let's say, oh, I have in my mind what I want to do. Okay, today I want to go and I do this now. Okay, today I want to do 5 miles. I haven't done 5 miles in a long time. And so I just go slow.
Yeah.
And I tell myself it's okay to walk. It's okay to stop and walk. It's okay to rest.
That's what it is. That's what I was inspiring
You
to
have to
me.
allow
Yeah.
yourself to give yourself a break. I mean, if you
Yeah.
think about your child, let's say, or your dog or
Hmm.
your friend or something like that. You would tell them, "Hey, take it easy on yourself." We tend to, you know, beat ourselves up, and inside we have that little, you know, record going around and around and around telling us we're not good enough or we're
Right.
not this enough, and in society, and turn it off. Just turn it off.
I feel like when you're running, you have to turn that off
It
in a way.
automatically turns it
Yeah, it
off
turns it
for
off for
you.
you because it's like, I'm running.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I don't listen to music,
Mm.
because, well, one thing, you always have to mess with, "Oh, I don't like this song, so I'm gonna go to the next one." But also danger, and I as I said, I just want to turn off.
Right.
No phone. I see a lot of people running with their phones.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just kind of like a way to escape a little bit in a
yeah,
way. Yeah.
you're
I mean, I felt like when we were training, you had to just focus on what you were doing. You
yeah.
couldn't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had coaches that would make us take our
Yeah.
watches off.
Is there anything else that you would want to share with somebody? Maybe they're in same situation as you. Maybe they're struggling with some type of cancer, or they're overweight and they're feeling, really down and they don't know where to start. And, maybe they don't want to go to a gym. They don't know where to find a trainer. Like, they got these books, but they don't know how to, or they've been reading and listening to all this information about health and fitness that's
Right.
out there.
Right.
If you were to break it down really simply for somebody, that wants to do something, doesn't know where to start, it's just overwhelmed with everything.
Sure. Sure.
Let's say I'm that person sitting here.
Okay.
What would you tell me, just simply, one or two
Simply
things just to do, and then come back to you and
go out and start walking. Just move. We're meant to move. We're hunter gatherers. We are hunter gatherer bodies
Mhm.
that have been within the last, I don't know, 100 years
Right.
turned into schlubs that sit in chairs all day. I mean,
Yeah,
let's face it,
it's true.
even if you're thin, you know, I mean, losing weight is should not be the ultimate goal. Getting in shape and taking care of your health and your body and your mental health is what the goal is.
So just go out and walk. Like, same
I
thing,
would
like
say
10
just
minutes,
start
just start
walking.
doing
Just
something.
start walking.
Mhm.
Just do something. I'm so inspired by people on Instagram that are, extremely overweight, and they just decide, you know what? I'm doing it,
Yeah.
and I follow them and I'm like, I love you, girl. You're so amazing.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really inspired by that. I would also say really pay attention to your nutrition and think about us in an evolutionary, look at a wild animal.
Mhm.
There's no fat wild animals. And wild animals, what do? They're constantly looking for food because that's what they have to do in order to survive. If they don't get food, they die. Or they can't, let's say a female fox doesn't get enough, let's say it doesn't get enough food that year, and she's not going to be able to have pups.
Right.
So, um, eat as oh God, I'm trying to sorry.
Don't eat crap.
Don't eat processed food.
Yeah. It's
And
challenging. That's a whole other
food-
story.
If processed food is very addicting, and I understand people, they stress eat. I completely understand that, and I'm not going to beat you up over it.
Mhm.
I was bulimic when I was younger. I went to a psychiatrist and I got treatment for it. That was the answer.
Right.
I didn't go to one of those groups or anything like that. I went to a psychiatrist. I got on medication, and that helped me immensely, immediately.
Yeah.
But I would say just get out and move. Your body is meant to move, and you'll feel so much better.
Yeah. I remember you telling me that you were like, I like getting people to move because they can really get in touch with their body and how it feels. I remember you telling me, and from there they can dictate what helps them feel better and what doesn't. Because when you move, you're really in touch with your body. I remember you telling me that also when I first started running. Anything else you'd want to share before we wrap up to get out there? Maybe how can somebody get in contact with you if they'd like to do some training or coaching? I'll put it on the notes in the podcast.
that'd be great.
I'll put it on my partner's site on
Sure.
nataniag.com partners. I'll put you
Okay,
under there
that'd
if
be
they need
great.
to get in contact with you.
So my email's really easy. It's my name and my dog's name at iCloud.com. It's Maria Fiona, like Shrek, Princess Fiona, at iCloud.com. You can also reach me by telephone. You can text me. I would advise texting me because
You're gonna have the
if
whole
you
world
call
texting
me,
you. Hey, Maria. Let's not say your phone.
I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
So you can find me on Instagram,
Awesome.
Maria. I think I'm _ Alicia Rogers or Maria
I'll put it
Rogers.
in the notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
No.
All right.
Just move.
All right. Message from Maria. Move it, Maria. There we go.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. That's it.
You're welcome. Love you, girl.
Love you too.